Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Kory, I am not gonna podcast this, but what I am gonna do is spend some number of minutes running around the internet to promote it at the last second, because that's the kind of guy I am. Also, because I don't know any other way to do it. This is when
Dan,
the links go up to find people. It takes me absolutely forever every time I try.
see, this is
Here
why
it
we
is.
get
I
on.
found us.
There we go. This is why we get on early. Um, I owe
Yeah.
you this much.
Yeah. Oh, wait. But let me tell people who are watching this after the fact, which is most of the people who watch this, if you are here and you just like stumbled through this preamble, scrub it ahead about 7 minutes. And that's when we're going to officially start. That's about how long it takes me to get this link shared all over the internet. Now back to you, Kory.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. We saw the end of 2024 and now we're into 2025. This is maybe the ultimate episode of this four issue mini series, if you will.
Yeah.
But Dan and I may very well do this some more because I like Dan's company and his
Oh wow.
insight is brilliant. It may behoove you, storytellers, to choose to work with either Dan or me, and you can reach out to both of us. You can get a hold of me through Storyluck, or if you want to get a hold of me
That is.
privately, that's fine. And we will do everything that we can to elevate your storytelling up to another level where you are even more satisfied with your ability to share your life as it develops. I live by this particular motto, and I want to continue to live like this. He or she who has the best stories wins, which means you've had an adventuresome life. Nothing happens, and you have no stories to tell if you simply sit in your apartment and do nothing. So, telling stories means that you're engaged in the greater world around you. Our predecessors for years and years used stories to explain unexplainable, inexplicable phenomenon. And now we have so many words and so much technology, but it still needs a human component for us to explain and share and connect with people around us. That's why we tell stories. That's why we tell personal narrative stories. That's why you may have joined this group. What you've seen for these last three episodes is how the sausage is made, if you will. Taking a kernel of idea and expanding it, discarding it, re examining it from another angle, discarding that until finally we have something that resonates. And it resonates in our hearts. I want you to think about this point too. We carry every story in us. Stories happen to us, stories happen in our bodies, to our bodies, and we carry all those stories with us. And so when we are telling a story accurately, it resonates with people around us because they have shared some similar experiences. As a result, there is science behind that that says this works. In a nutshell, if I'm telling a good story, it stimulates your mirror neurons, which allows you to feel and empathize with me. If I've done that story with you, it suspends your disbelief and allows you to go along for the ride. And you can say, oh, wow, something like that similar, something similar to that happened to me. And that's where Dan and I come in. Because we
Awesome.
take that little kernel and help you build it and expand it so that it becomes something that allows you to be able to relate to your peers, to your friends, to an audience, if you will. I'm going to raise up another question.
Mhm.
Killing a couple more minutes here.
Yeah, I am ready.
If this will be
I've
my
done it.
last point, and then we can move forward.
Yeah.
If any of you have ever gone to a conference, I'm sure that you have been in sessions where the stories or the information was displayed on a PowerPoint, and sometimes you jot it down, sometimes you get it, sometimes you are connected to that. That's one type of learning. But the real education often happens in the hotel's hospitality rooms or over dinner when you're listening to the old heads who share that wisdom not on a PowerPoint, but based on the life experience that they had, the story behind that information. And those old heads bring this back full circle to living an interesting life with things happening to them so that they can connect with you and you go along for the ride. Dan.
Awesome.
I don't think you need to skip that 7 minutes. That actually is kind of informative, and it may very well make you want to stick around for the next time that Dan and I do that, which will be in the future. I'm twisting Dan's arm off screen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we should definitely do a fifth one after we do them live.
You know, Dan, we could do
it.
this. We could do this regularly. I mean,
We could keep doing this. Yeah, I think off screen we discuss what the next iteration is. On screen, I'm gonna say I am disappointed in myself. I thought that this was gonna make me work so hard.
but it
And I
has.
was gonna, on some level, I have worked harder on this than I would have otherwise because I would never work to go to a live show like the Moth and perform. Uh, but I really thought that every week I was gonna put in like an hour every day, like more than that in my brain, and that it's so silly because the truth is that's never how I work. Uh, and so it's exactly what you were saying is like we did work a lot on these stories, and I kind of want to hog the mic here and like continue on that thing is like anything if you want to work on this and whether it's like writing a novel or doing a story building in forcing functions like meeting up with friends, joining workshops, doing ones that are free like Kory's the Cocoon, um, or just building it yourself like we have here is just highly motivating and then you get it done. The other thing that I like to point out to people is working on this is better than not working on it. Like if you put in 5 hours working on your story and then you take it to an open mic or you take it to a Moth, you are so far ahead of the 50% of the people who went to one Moth or were invited there for the first time and their friend was like, "Oh, you've got that funny story. You should tell it." Right? Like if you put any effort into it, you are ahead of the game. So let's
Yeah.
see our effort.
Let's amplify that too. Dan and I are at a more advanced level of storytelling than many people. So, in order for us to have gotten there, it was a conscious thought to start to write, to start to gain the skills to tell a story. And much like what Dan has said, there are people who will encourage you. Oh, you told them that one really funny story at the Buffalo Wild Wings over beer. Okay, and if you just go in to a live lit performance and just do it like that, you're not going to necessarily get the results that you want when someone is crafting that work. So 5 hours, 7 hours. The thing was is that we were thinking about these stories consistently and running them off against somebody else who has an equal or better skill set than our own. I will fully admit that Dan's got an amazing skill set. And to hear from him when he's turned his antenna on about places where stories could be stronger, or no, I don't like that one for you at this particular moment, that's powerful because it allows me to see where my flaws and my weaknesses are. The other thing, again, this is going to sound a little preachy, but you have to focus on that for 6 minutes. You've got 6 minutes. You've got a minute for your regular story and maybe 60 additional seconds for the overflow. If you can't tell your story in that short period of time, you're not going to have the success that you want when you're doing a competitive storytelling venture such as the Moth.
Yeah. Cool.
Hey, Edward.
Let's kick into it. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You may go first.
Awesome. So I have been working on it. I recorded it. I listened to my recording. I've probably done it a half dozen times. And one of the things that I wanted to do, which hopefully gets done this week, is do a little bit of write-up of like, you create this story for one specific thing, but you can use it in other venues. I told it at New Year's as sort of a party story, and it killed there, and it just worked. These stories work in public, and you can tell them, like, dial down the theatrical. Say the word for me.
Theatrics.
You can, yeah, that's the one. You can tone that down, or you can just warn people and be like, I've been working on this, so it's going to be a little theatrical. So that's one thing about it. I think I will be able to turn this into a thread for, threads and Twitter and all those. It's definitely did well as a Facebook story, so it will be turned into a Medium thing, and I will be posting it at various places to sort of leverage all this work that we've been doing. Yeah, let me kick into it. Here we go.
Do you want me to time it?
Yeah.
Okay, hot second, please.
Yeah. The timing is my biggest issue, and it's just like very clear to me that if I crisp it up, it's going to be fine. So let's see.
Whenever you're ready.
Back in like early 2024, it was a post-pandemic, just hellscape of nasty. It was a Chicago dystopian dating nightmare. All I wanted was to go on a date and have the person be nice, and I could be nice to them. But what I find myself doing in this moment is staring into an empty Indian restaurant and being on the phone trying not to accuse someone of the thing that they had definitely done to me. Hey, I am just letting you know that I was here. I waited a little bit. It's no big deal, but I'm not staying forever. I assume that, we had talked, and so something must have like come up. I hope it's a good thing and not a bad thing. And I do hope that, you call me back and we connect. I'm going to wait here for like 5 minutes and then I'm going to jet. So if you're like running later than that, like don't worry about it. But do, when you get a chance, call me, click. I do not wait 5 minutes. I go straight to my bicycle and I unlock it. And as I'm putting it on my belt, my phone rings. And it's Elizabeth. So I say, Hello, this is the Boyd's residence. May I ask who's speaking, please? And she says, who the F are you? Why do you effing keep calling effing me? And I'm like, I believe you that you don't know who I am, but we confirmed at like 10 p.m. and you last night, so I didn't think it was going to be a big deal that you would miss this. You seemed excited. I'm the guy you were going to go on a date with. Ah! And she's like, oh my God. Oh my God, I overslept. I'm drunk. No, I'm not drunk. Oh, I'm hungover. I mean, no, I'm not hungover. I'm going to be there. Just wait right there. And I say, well, it's closing at 1 and I do not want to wait an hour for you to get here. How about I bike to you and you just roll out of bed and we find a place near you? She agrees. I pedal my spindly little legs over there. And the rest of the date is kind of awesome. It's another sort of Indian restaurant. It's more of a fusion. It's fast food. We're hanging out. We're talking. We're vibing. She's the sort of woman you'd expect to be dating a polyamorous blue-haired boy. She's a Chicago hipster. And I say, you know what, Elizabeth, I never do this, but I kind of like Googled you a little bit. And I saw your YouTube channel. And I just want to know, how'd you come up with that character? This like persona of this person that you play in your YouTube videos. It's like so cool. She locks eyes with me and just gets this icy dead stare. I can't let go. Somebody drops a plate in the kitchen and it shatters and I am stuck in her eyes. Character? I am the eggnog queen. Dan, you are so lucky to have met me. The thing is, I have come to bring utopia. First to Chicago, then it'll spread to Illinois and all over the US before covering the world. And it's going to come through the beauty of my eggnog recipe that I've brought from another dimension in the future. You're from the future? I'm from another dimension, which is also in the future. And I've come to bring utopia to the world. And you're one of the first people who are going to get to see it. Okay, so not me, right? Obviously not me, but like hypothetically speaking, when you say this to someone and they don't believe you, what is your response? I want someone to drop a plate, throw a knife, get me out of here because she says, nobody's ever not believed me. You know, they either say, that's awesome, or there's a small pause and then they say, okay. Okay. And then I change the subject and the rest of the evening, lunch is fine. She's an entrepreneur. She has this ex-boyfriend who's kind of a boyfriend. It's like all up my alley stuff. We gossip. We have fun. We put on our coats. We head outside. She touches my shoulder and she says, Danny, I'd really like to show you utopia. I keep it in my bedroom. There's a portal back to the dimension in the future where I'm from. And I'd like to share that with you. I think it'd be so much easier to show you. Now, faced with the hellscape of the Chicago dating world I have been in for the last 12 months, an eggtopia, I look at her and say, no, I'm good.
$6.21. 6:21.
Yeah, close.
Let's let's review some of this. There's a couple things that I would like. We can either trim down or maybe in fleshing out, we will let this. It will let us kill some of the darlings. Yeah, my camera's fuzzy as all get out.
No.
Hang on just a second. I'm still fuzzy. All right. Let's see here. At the I don't know what time this is. Because at one point you mentioned
I screwed up. It's always lunch.
okay.
I said 1, but
yes.
I screwed up. I made it, and I yeah.
Yeah, that
I was like dinner, but it's always
right.
lunch. It's at lunch.
So that would be helpful clarifying that lunch thing.
Yeah.
The lunch time. You are almost effortlessly humorous throughout this. You are funny here. I love your content. I don't know that it was overly dramatic. I felt that you were right where you needed to be in terms of moving the story ahead consistently, and that's just you're right where I think you need to be. The moment I want a little bit more tension, and I don't know exactly how to get there. At about between 3:20 and 3:30, you are hitting me up with the how did you create that persona on YouTube? Oh no, it's not a persona. And then the plate shatters and you are transfixed. Is there another way that you can you share the language that you used in that moment? Was that I was lost in these eyes and I was begging, or I wanted another plate to drop, somebody to throw a knife or something? I want that.
Yeah, I don't have specific language for it. I say it different every time.
Now this may seem
so we should get specific language for that.
Yeah, is there transfixed like a cobra and and its prey, or predatory animal and its prey? Something because you've for whatever reason poked this, and now the stern glare is transfixed upon you. That because that shows a power dynamic that needs to be amplified, because she's definitely the one who's in control of this conversation in this dating episode. At 4:30, somewhere you give the okay after the eggnog conversation. I'm from the future, and not only the future, I'm from another dimension. Okay. No one else is skeptical. No one asks to get out. At about the 5-minute mark, they generally say, oh, that's awesome. Change the subject. I don't know that you necessarily need to go into the boyfriend being the entrepreneur and all that other stuff. If you're looking to trim some seconds, the rest of the conversation is largely mundane or something ordinary. That may help. At 5.5 minutes, does it matter that you're outside? Because I think the second climax here is, Danny, I can show you utopia. I'll take you back to my apartment and I can show you the portal.
Yeah, the reason that it's important to me is that I am like it's a physical manifestation of the like I am actually looking at the city. Now that I'm outside, I have the
Okay.
viewscape of Chicago
Okay.
and we like the door to her apartment.
Okay. Um, yeah, and now I see that the way you clarified it, so that it is the Chicago hellscape or the portal. And yeah, okay. So then maybe that needs to be tightened up
Yeah,
so that that choice becomes
really clear that that's the visual I'm going for.
right. And if you are able to tighten that up, you don't need to repeat that at the 6 minute mark where you have to choose between the Chicago
Yeah.
dystopic hellscape and the and Egtopia. I
Yeah.
love Egtopia. Um, could is there that last minute? I think there's some tightening that can be done in that last minute so that it ends up that you're seeing you can look out into the city, that dystopic hellscape that is the Chicago dating uh, skyline, if you will, and the door to her apartment where Egtopia and the portal exist, or something like that. I think that there's you're like a gnat's ass away from this being spot on. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think all those are good. Tighten up the language. I like Cobra and Prey a lot better than the repeated. I wish someone would break something. Uh yeah, and I really like Cobra and Prey. That is like how I felt. I was like, "Oh, she's crazy. I'm going to get murdered."
Well, I think, and that's the vibe that I got. I just want that
Yeah.
description and that power dynamic
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
because all of the sudden that changes everything and how we look at everything is because that power dynamic is just so apparent.
Cool.
How you feel?
I think that it's going to be by the time I get to do it, it's going to be solid. It's going to be very solid.
Right, right. Uh,
I thought I was gonna do it for reset, but I screwed up, and reset is on the 13th, which is when book club is. So I'm not gonna be able to make that show. I'm gonna have to do the January show after that.
well,
But
was
it's
that
but
out
it
in
fits. I forget what it's called. It's the new one. It's at a place. The other show's at a place called the Den Theater. It's no, I'm all confused about the moths, but the whatever the theme is also fits this story fine.
right? Is that the one in Berwyn?
I don't know. I didn't look it up. I didn't look it up, but I will show up to it, even if it's in effing Berlin.
Dan doesn't travel.
Oh, that's a question I have for you.
Yes.
Is I was thinking about it, and I was like, the moth doesn't like it when you swear, and I pulled back on the swear words. And what's your hot take?
Okay. The for me the moth profanity at the moth is like Lowry seasoning salt. If it makes the flavor better and there's no other word,
Said
drop
it.
that in. Drop it in. But no one wants to eat a whole cup of Lowry seasoning salt. Does that make sense?
Sure,
A,
sure, sure.
a judicious.
Yeah, but in this one, did it bug you
No,
that I pulled back? I went, "F you! Why do you keep effing calling me?"
no, that didn't bother me too
All
much at
right,
all. I
then
mean,
I think I'm gonna keep
if
that
you want to drop
that
that
way.
in, it certainly does speak for a level of frustration in that
Sure, sure.
moment. And it's contextual because you don't overuse it and you don't use it at the point where you are thinking she's not all here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You don't use it. You use it very, very specifically in a bounded set of circumstances that makes me go like, oh,
Yeah, but which do you like better?
didn't make a difference to me.
Okay, it didn't make a difference. Well, I think it makes a difference to the audience. So I think I'm cutting it. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm
Um,
gonna say F. And I'm just gonna hit the F hard. That's my plan.
um, I would just say take the temperature of the room,
The
just
day
feel
of.
the vibe.
Hmm.
If you can, if you feel like you're safe enough to do it, go ahead and do it. If not,
No, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
not.
I think to those watching, I think I've been to enough moths. Don't swear. They don't like it.
I'm gonna try to get rid of this fogginess. Jeez, this is nuts. Be right back.
Yeah.
I'm not really gone. Just
Yeah, yeah. Uh, oh, it happened. I think that fixed it. No.
no. So it jumped over to you, and I thought I
Well,
was coming back. Do you have any control over that?
I can. Yeah, yeah. I can
So
switch
let's
up.
try this one more time.
Yeah. Sure.
I guess I'm just stuck blurry. And for those of you at home, you
What if you back up? Does
then
that?
I just look small against my exotic backdrop, Dan.
Yeah. Backdrops working today. Huh. Okay.
Any feedback from our audience so far?
There's a bold move. There's a slight delay. I can tell you that from doing it other places, the laugh lines hit and questions pop in, which I think are good. It's like, who do you think she was serious? What, stuff like that. People show that they are tightened in. Oh, I've got to let him back in.
Hey, there we are.
Yeah. What do you think? I feel like that's actually better.
Oh, yes, much better. I'm not fuzzy.
Okay. When in doubt, restart.
Yeah, there you go.
That is always the key. Uh, cool. Let's hear your latest version.
If you would be so kind as to time me, I would
Yep.
appreciate that. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Our families go back decades. As a matter of fact, Dave's family and my family go back so far that I wasn't even born. As legend would have it, both confirmed by my mom and Dave, it's the mid 60s, and my mom wanders into our backyard to find a small white child with purple hands and purple face. No, not from asphyxia, but mulberries. Dave had raided the mulberry trees at the back of our property and eaten so many that his face was purple, and so were his hands. And he passed out. My mom stands over him and asks him, "Little boy, do you know where your parents are?" And he gestures yes, happily, and escorts my mom over to meet his parents. And that's how the Kaplans and the Mays became close friends. Most of my life, I was not fully aware that Dave existed until I came back from my freshman year of college, and Dave, who owned a comic book shop, had a sign waiting, help wanted. And because it was a comic book store, I absolutely positively had to work there. Now, Dave, as an entrepreneur, lived at the intersection of time and self development. If you were willing to commit the time and wanted to improve yourself, he would give you all of his time. And so, as I got older, Dave gifted me things like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and we would have deep conversations. After I graduated from college, moved out to Washington, D.C., whenever I would come back, I would visit Dave. And sometimes at 8 p.m., his wife, Joni, would see me there and say, "Oh, this is going to be a long night for you boys." And Dave and I would be up when she got up at 6 in the morning to go to work. Friends like that you really, really care for, and Dave cared for me in that way. So when I got married, Dave was my best man. And when all 5 of my kids came gallivanting onto this earth, Dave was their godfather. I love this guy. When I get a divorce, Dave is still my best man. And he helps me through a painful divorce and that move from Wisconsin back to Iowa City. One of the things that Dave would do would take me out in the Iowa countryside, and we would dig up old comic books. He had a nose for comic books, and he would find some fantastic treasures, like the first appearance of the modern Flash, which was worth thousands of dollars. And while I got to hold it in my hands, Dave would ask me, "Are you having a good time?" "Yeah, Dave, I'm having a great time." Now, whether it was Depression era glass or comic books or marbles, we would always go into the countryside and have this adventure. As we both got older, Dave got sick. And through 4 bouts with cancer, a lung, a bone marrow transplant, and a kidney transplant, we would still have these adventures together. And it changed for me because whenever Dave would ask, "Are you having a good time?" I would always tell him, "Time with you is time well spent." Dave goes into the hospital almost a year ago, and I think he's going to be out because that's what he does. He bounces back from this kind of stuff, and I'm looking for our next adventure. And when I see Dave, and we talk about Caitlin Clark and our beloved Iowa Hawkeyes, I get a feeling that our time together is running out. When I leave, I call my sister and I say to her, "Hun, Dave's the finest man that I know." And she says, "Duh, tell him." And so I do. And Dave says, "Thank you. That's high praise coming from you." In that same conversation, Dave tells me that he's got a granddaughter on the way, and he refers to her as his little nugget. And I love this for her, nugget, because I think of gold nuggets, and that means something valuable. On February 4th, Dave passed away, 1 week shy of being 68 years old. He never sees his granddaughter. And what I want to tell her for the rest of her life, the lesson that Dave taught me, and that was time with you is time well spent. Boom.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Uh
How long was that?
that was exactly 6.
Woot! I can
Yep.
tighten that up.
Yeah. Uh I like it. I like this ending was good and it builds to it.
Thank you.
And I think that that is like much improved.
I've spent some time thinking about this. You know how we were talking at the beginning about not devoting an hour a day to this. A lot of times, your stories come out three-quarters baked,
Mhm.
and you're now moving that last 25% around, and that's how this kind of evolved over the last 4 weeks. Um, Comes out largely intact, and then we're starting to fit and restructure that last 25%.
Mhm. Where uh yeah.
I also did something that I've gotten on you a little bit about. I used stuff and things. I need to be specific.
Mhm.
Many
Mhm.
apologies for getting on you about that and not owning up to it myself.
Well, I think it's like just part of the drafting process that that's where you start. And then it just becomes a sort of hunt and seek and destroy kind of thing. Like control F replace. Like where am I saying something? Where am I saying thing? Where am I
Right,
saying stuff? Those need to be concrete. I gotta
right.
figure it out. Um, you in our last notes like had a very specific 3 or 4 dots that are like these are the things that I want to hit.
Right.
Is that this?
I've got mom, his wife, and my sister, and then the coda of that is the nugget.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
way,
That's
I think,
cool.
yeah,
In that frame. Um, hmm.
what you thinking?
Like how like is there a way to hit that harder? Like some
Oh,
sort of like women in our lives
I
kind
don't
of thing.
I don't think that needs to be explicitly called out, because
Okay.
here's what we have: generation, 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 generation. And that ties closer to time than femininity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mom, Dave's wife, my sister, when I recognize that I may not have him around for much longer, and then the legacy, the nugget.
Yeah. Wife and sister are the same generation though.
They could be. They could
Okay.
be.
Okay. Um so this is here are some notes.
Please, by all means.
Uh I think and Grow Rich is ripe for a laugh line.
Right.
Uh I think going I think the old version of the mulberries is better. Like I don't know what that means exactly, but like you got to be in that place with the imagery.
Okay.
Uh,
These are recorded, aren't they?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will go back and
You can
dig
go
up
back.
the old
Yeah, probably the first or the second one.
right.
Yeah, because I feel like, oh, and then the blocking around going to the countryside,
Mm-hmm.
the logistics of that is not clear. You're
Okay.
finding glass, you're finding comic books,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the when you first
Not just
say
not just out in the countryside.
right,
Okay.
right,
Yes.
it's
I
like
will.
you can put it two and two together, but you want to say it.
Okay.
Um,
Explicit antiquing.
yeah, we're antiquing, but I do like the tie-in of countryside, right? Because you got mulberries, you've got that gets you to like Iowa country,
Right.
and then you can hit it again with Nugget because Nugget is gold and gold is Iowa, right?
Sort of. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because there's all this like the sunrise there, the stalks of wheat and
The
corn
corn.
and
The corn.
yeah, of course. Well, I should have if you want to distance corn from Iowa, but
Oh,
that was one thought, and then
I want to bring up pork.
the other hard the other hard pork little pork nugget, um, cook her up all golden brown. Uh, well,
I
duh,
love it.
tell him. I still think you don't have to tell me. You don't tell me.
Yeah.
Or you no, you don't have to tell me. Seems like the right language. And you can like let it sit.
Yeah.
Face down.
That's
You don't have to
again.
tell
That's a
me.
better line than tell him. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, and just like let give it room to breathe for the audience to hear it in their heads twice. Sort of inception. Who does he have to tell? Oh, he's got to tell him.
Right.
Oh, I got to. And so I call the man I have to tell.
Right.
Right. And you'll get that awe reaction. And that, it'll be that like little bit of some in the crowd are like, oh, and some of them are like, I knew it. And it's
Right.
a satisfying kind of effect.
I'm still chuckling about pork nugget.
Yeah. Use. Uh, yeah, I think it's moving in the right direction.
Agreed. Agreed.
Cool. So
Dan, I do have
I,
a question for you.
okay, be careful. So I'm gonna start
Good.
a little. I am criminal in using real names.
Right.
In this story that I was working on, I changed the person's name.
Well, yeah.
But the nature of the situation is such that is it enough? And because I don't want anybody to. I was listening right before this to David Sedaris on a podcast with Mike Birbiglia,
Oh gosh, that
and
would have been amazing.
and Mike was like, "Is there anything you regret?" And he's like, "Hurting people's feelings." He's like, "I'm never trying to do that." and it happens, semi regularly that people read it and it's about them and they're like, I'm hurt. And a little bit, I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
From the audience, yeah, just avoid word queening, maybe.
Yeah.
Remember
Well,
from, I don't know whether you ever watched Dragnet when you were younger, but only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
yeah. Okay.
If you change the characteristics of this at some point or another, I mean, you might get the point across. But what if? I mean, just hypothetically speaking, but I think there, no pun intended, this may change the flavor of your story.
Yeah.
But
What, okay, let's brainstorm a little bit,
I
though.
got it. I have it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What is it?
Tapioca pudding.
That is funnier.
It is, isn't it?
I think that is funnier.
But you
I could say holiday tapioca pudding.
done. You've
Done.
changed the flavor.
All right.
You've also created such a visual image. So the image of the sensations of
Yeah.
visual, the sensation, everybody knows what it looks like, knows what it sounds like, has an idea of the taste and texture, and it becomes even funnier
Yeah.
just based on, I will save the entire world. My holiday tapioca pudding.
Yeah. And you get to be a pudding princess.
The royalty is intact.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. I think I can do that. I just need to train myself to not laugh.
Well, you can
Holiday
laugh at
holiday
you can laugh.
tapioca pudding. I can't. I don't. Because I have to be her when she's saying it. I am the pudding princess. God damn it.
And just think, you can open it up like, and what kind of pudding is that?
Tapioca.
Tapioca. Oh.
Okay. Cool.
And so we've solved that problem. You've
Yeah.
changed the name. You changed the food stuff,
Yeah.
and it's a slightly lower on the royalty.
Right. Right. Cool. Cool. All right. For those who watched this and commented, I know lots of people who know this person and they say that they are awesome and are a good person and a good friend and loyal and wonderful and generous. And I just want to say that I have no hard feelings towards my bad date.
But then again, this is your reality of what happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It did happen. I'm not like I'm not making it up.
No,
That
no,
is
no, no.
that
But
is that is what happened.
the artistic liberties are not designed to diminish at this juncture as much as they are to protect the innocent or to
No.
protect someone's identity.
Cool.
Okay,
This
wait.
was excellent.
Here was my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people in Chicagoland see you perform
Yeah.
or MC or get to see you in all your blue-haired polyamorous glory?
Great. Um, yeah, so Monday the 13th, I will be back here on Facebook Live. I will be working with two friends and a bunch of other people who've signed up for book club. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a book called Doppelganger, and that's the next thing. Then February 2nd will be the Story Luck show, and hopefully Kory May will be there. Cool. What do you have coming up, Kory?
Oh, Dan Boyd.
A lot of
There are
things.
so many things happening. As a matter of fact, this tonight, if you are not currently following me on Facebook, please do. I'm always heavy into the Facebook. There was this, and then tomorrow I leave for Washington D.C., where I am in a show on Wednesday at Busboys and Poets in Tacoma, Washington D.C., 235 Carroll Street Northwest, where I have 35 to 40 minutes of material, and I'm sharing the stage with a guy named Gerald Fierst. After that, I fly back on the 9th, and I am in Cedar Rapids, Iowa with Teller's Bridge, which is an Eastern Iowa storytelling collective at Parlor City. And then on the 11th, the 12th, that's tomorrow. No, the 11th. Math is killing me. On the 11th, I will be hosting the Cocoon, which is a free virtual open mic storytelling workshop. So what you saw with Dan and me tonight is indicative of the kind of feedback that you will get there. It is not a show. It is not a show. Let me reiterate one more time. It is not a show. It is a workshop where many storytellers debut their work or get work done. And my crowd, my village, my community is very inclusive and gentle in terms of feedback. And then on the 21st, I will be playing with Teller's Bridge again at Rayo in North Liberty, Iowa, which is a Mexican restaurant, bar, and grill. And then after that, I will be in Wilmette on February 1st for Love Notes, a February love story kind of show. And then on the 2nd, I will be at Theater Wit with the story Potluck. Whew. There you go.
The Storyluck Show. That's awesome. Follow Kory. He does great stuff. He does videos every day. And we will see you guys maybe next week.
Take care, everybody.